right, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, 0 tears. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Welcome in to another edition of the James Boyd Podcast. I, of course, am James Boyd, joined by my editor, Jim Aiello. And Jim, we are back after the Colts had their first joint practice in New England. First time that Daniel Jones had a chance to face a different team since having the Achilles injury. And also we got some Alec Pierce injury news / not news stuff we can get into and to kind of explain ourselves on that front, as well as look ahead to tomorrow's preseason game. I'm back in Indianapolis, but I'll watch it on TV and bring you all the latest from home base. So, Jim, before we get into all the happenings at the joint practice, I do feel like we have an obligation to the listeners to explain what happened before the practice and kind of bring people into our world a little bit. Normally, this will kind of just stay behind the scenes, but to recap for those who might have missed it, Saturday, Adam Schefter goes on the Pat McAfee show and says that Alec Pierce had an injection in his ankle. I, like a few other reporters on the beat, followed up on that with a source based within the team, and we were told, yes, he got a second injection, platelet-rich plasma injection, something to help speed up his ankle recovery. And we reported that. I vetted it. I asked a lot of questions, and Jim, you can speak to this as well. Yep. I ran it by you and many other editors before we hit publish. Like, this isn't, I think sometimes people think that the source game is me, and I'm kind of venting to start the podcast. Sorry to dominate the conversation, Jim. So I want to just get off my chest and let you weigh in from an editor's perspective. But just real quick, I think sometimes people on social media, and I'm not blaming you all at all, to be clear, but they think that I just get something and I run with it. No, there is a process that happens behind the scenes. So everyone who needs to know who the actual source is, they do know. Name, face, all of it, okay? You know, maybe not social security number, but they know the most important things for our purposes as journalists. And so I published that, and then the next morning, I get a message saying, hey, from the source, I actually misspoke. And so at that point, then you're having to go back and backtrack. And it is a bad look for a reporter to have to reconfigure what was already out there and take some stuff back. No, actually, Alec did not get the second injection according to the source in the franchise. And so at that point, this is why I feel like the Colts probably needed to, and I do appreciate them doing this. They were like, you know what? Enough of this source stuff. General Manager Chris Ballard's here in New England. Let's have him talk on the record. He did talk. He did confirm that the source we had was wrong. It was misguided. And even though we all had it, it doesn't make it right, but he was able to clear up some confusion there. And the last thing I'll say about it from my end, Jim, is that this is a source that we've used in the past. It isn't something like new or crazy. You know, this stuff has been right, I would say 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
This is the one time it wasn't. So from your perspective as an editor, maybe can you explain a little bit of like how the process works and why it isn't just me firing off tweets and you reacting to them? I think you were in the know the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too uncommon, and at this point, I think the person that you speak with, we have a pretty good confidence in that they know what they're talking about, and so I shouldn't say we have pretty good confidence. We have great confidence, just to be clear. We have great confidence that this person knows what they're talking about when it comes to Colts matters. So, yeah, like I said, James typically fills me in on what nugget of info he has, and it doesn't always, obviously it's not going to always come from one source, but this, he'll run it by, like I said, if there's I do a hypothetical, if there's like an injury to another player, not referring to Alec Pierce, a lot of times, again, I'm not spoiling any secrets here, James and other reporters will get it from the agent. The agent will confirm or give you some detail about what happened. Often that's enough to go with on certain things. On certain times, you have to take it back to a team and a team source and say, like, hey, this is what the agent said or whatever. So that's typically how this goes. But, like I said, I appreciated that Chris Ballard was willing to come out and explain the situation, or at least explain what had happened and why it was I guess a mix up or a misspoke on the part of the person with the Colts. So it was nice that he cleared that up. What I will say is that it's odd, I guess. And if you want to get into this next point, I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but like it's odd that the Colts person had one understanding and that was not correct. So my what I guess I have to wonder is like, was there something done to Alec Pierce's ankle and heel, by the way? I mean, not that there's something done to the heel, but it is worth noting that Ballard did tell you guys that the surgery
Yes.
that Alec Pierce had was on both his ankle, which we all knew, and heel, which we all did not know necessarily, in terms of like what he's recovering from. I am curious as to like, surely something happened. Surely there's another part of this recovery. Not to say that there was a setback, because I think they've been pretty clear on saying that there was no setback with Alec Pierce.
Yeah, and they've said from the beginning it's 4 to 6 months, and we're in like the 4.5 month range right now.
Exactly. I think everyone just gets antsy, and Chris Ballard should maybe know a little better than doing this to himself, but he said at the beginning of training camp he expected him to be back in 1 or 2 weeks. He puts a timeline on himself, and when the timeline expires, everyone freaks out. And so, again, Chris has been doing this for a long time. I'm sure he regrets putting a timeline on it when he didn't have to, but he did, and therefore I think that's part of the impetus of this is like, hey, it's been more than the 2 weeks that you said it's going to be, so what's going on? So I am curious about what has been going on behind the scenes with Alex ankle and recovery and what they're doing to try to speed up the process, if it wasn't a second PRP injection. I'm not sure we're ever going to get that information, but I do think that there is something left hanging out there, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I would agree there. And that's the nature of it. I get it, especially when it comes to injury stuff. You're probably not going to get the full story. I mean, to be honest, even when the initial injury was announced by Alec back in June during minicamp, he never really told us what the surgery was done to correct or where his discomfort came from. But I guess on a positive note, the benefit of being there in New England was being able to see Alec really for the first time since I've been out at camp, Jim, and we're basically into like week 3. He was doing some football things. Now, he never was a participant in practice officially, but he did put on his cleats. I was able to see him, run a little bit, jog a little bit. He looked fine for the most part. I mean, I can't assess like, how close is he to being Alec Pierce. I didn't see him, running a 4.340 like he normally does when he's going on a go ball or go route. But it was encouraging to see him out there doing some individual drills, working with the team trainer. We were told explicitly that it was actually against team policy for us to film what he was doing, because obviously I would have tried to bring you all video. We can only get still photos, and those still photos had to be him without a trainer in the vicinity. So that's why I had and so that's why, I mean, honestly, Jim, I waited till after practice just to see him walk off the field to videotape that. So I figured there wasn't any rule against me taking a photo of him walking up a little incline on a hill and signing an autograph, taking a photo. But nevertheless, he did have cleats on. He was around for the joint practice, didn't participate in it. But we'll see if that leads to more for Alec Pierce later this week. I know they have the joint practice Thursday. Not Thursday. Not a joint practice, but a game tomorrow, Thursday. But they also have practice back here in Indianapolis, or in Westfield, I should say, Saturday and Sunday. And will that be an opportunity for us to see more from Alec? We'll have to probably wait and see, but it was an encouraging sign and probably the most significant sign of him making any sort of progress, because really there haven't been any other updates since then. So that's kind of where I'll leave it with Alec. I appreciate those who want the best information. They want the information to be vetted. They want it to be accurate. Of course, I joke around a lot, Jim, you know this, but we do take our jobs seriously. We don't want to put out misinformation. And so we were glad to go back and correct that and have the Colts, with the help of Chris Ballard, kind of clear the air on that front. Now, as we move aside, which is kind of crazy to think about it, the guy who had ankle surgery is the one we're kind of questioning if he's going to be ready to go for the season opener. And to be clear, Chris Ballard said he does believe he will be ready for the season opener, but look, man, I got to see some football activities before I start, jumping on that train as well.
Yeah.
But that is kind of gray what's crystal clear is that Daniel Jones will be out there for week 1. And like I said to start the pod, this was the first opportunity that he had a chance to face a different team than his own since tearing his Achilles, since I want to say that game. Yeah, December 8th was probably the date of the game. This is how crazy I've been thinking about that moment. So he went down. It's been 8 months. Faces a new team. They're defending AFC champions. Had a great defense last year. So I'll turn the hosting duties over to Jim. But I must say, from my vantage point, we had kind of a weird viewing angle where we were at. It was kind of hard to see at some points in practice. But for the most part, I did think that Daniel looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I feel like you've buried the lead so far on Sauce Gardner just being absolutely cooked and over the hill. Yeah, and
we can get into that too a little bit.
I saw one clip, and that's all I needed to see. He's done. So,
oh man, there goes my Sauce one-on-one interview.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, hey, listen, Sauce. If you want to be regarded as the number one corner, you have to win every single rep, no matter what.
Yes,
and even if you slip, it's yes. No, God. I thought that was hilarious. It's just one of those things where the clip got posted. The Patriots like team site posted it like immediately.
Yeah.
It was like one of the first. I felt like it was like one of the first joint practice clips of the day. There's a lot of joint practices yesterday, and I just felt like that one made the rounds fast because it was early and ahead. So it was insane. You wrote about it. It's really good stuff. I would highly recommend you guys go look at James's report from joint practice, but he does lead with it, and it's yes. Listen, the reports of Sauce Gardner's demise have been much overstated. He is fine. He will be okay. So no, let's get back to Daniel Jones, and then I want to talk about the quarterbacks as well because we got plenty of quarterback news. The first thing I will say is that I was relieved to hear Shane Steichen say the smart thing and say that Daniel Jones will probably not be playing in the preseason. I was. Part of me thought all the reports that you guys have had, and I've heard from you and from, Joel and from all the national reporters who have been there, Joel Erickson at the Indy Star, should say, everybody's saying how good he looks. You can barely tell he's hurt. And I was like, oh no, the Colts are going to be like, you know what? Let's put him out there. He looks so good. Let's just see it. So glad to see that the Colts are not going to do that, not going to take any risks there. I'm sure Daniel himself is probably not pumped about that.
I was going to say, to be clear, I think that he would absolutely want to
100%.
Get a drive or two, even just a series, but they're probably like,
I wouldn't put it past him to be like game 2. Maybe we'll give you a series, but like I said, I'm not if he pushes hard enough. Anyway, point is, I was happy to hear that Shane, I saw the video even, and Shane was just like, we're not doing that. Like he sounded pretty confident about it, so that was good. But yeah, I guess I wanted to know, specifically, and I know it was a tough vantage point on this, but on Daniel Jones going up against the. Well, I want to know too, like pass rush wise, how was he manipulating the pocket? I saw him boot a little bit. Like how was the mobility? Because the reports from Colts camp have been glowing about that kind of stuff, but it is a little different when you're reacting like quick twitch. And again, I know he can't get hit, but quick twitch when there's somebody coming off the edge and it's live and again, there's the adrenaline going, and I think you want to do even better when you're playing against another team versus your own teammates. So from that standpoint, did you notice any difference? What did you see from Daniel Jones?
I thought his mobility looked pretty good, and he had moments where, the accuracy, the velocity, the ability to kind of shake around in the pocket and extend the play was definitely evident, Jim. But the issue, and this isn't Daniel's fault, was that if it wasn't Josh Downs or Tyler Warren on the other end of the football, the opportunities to kind of make a little something happen when like this player wasn't exactly schemed open were rare. And that to me really stood out. And I think that kind of made life a little harder on Daniel when the bullets were a little bit more live, so to speak. Because to me, this is somebody who, and I should probably, let me backtrack. I'm trying to get out of like my war reference when it comes to football terms. I'll work on that for those who might be listening who are veterans. I try to respect what you all do. And, football is not war. So I'll say with live bodies trying to, actually bring them to the ground. Yeah. I think that this is an opportunity, or of course they couldn't tackle him, but bring him to the ground. Just like get out there and get a quote unquote sack or a pass deflection or something like that. There were opportunities for him to do that. And I thought that physically he looked fine, but operationally I didn't love what I saw all the time. Now, the last 2-minute drill of practice was great. I thought that they really diced up the Patriots defense. Now they were without a couple of their cornerbacks, their top cornerbacks, in Carlton Davis and obviously Christian Gonzalez, who is considered, if not number one or number two in the cornerbacks in the league. But again, on that final drive of practice, it was Tyler Warren for 3 catches to get him down to the red zone. And then it was Josh Downs with the game-winning touchdown, so to speak. And he actually got a taunting penalty afterwards for talking his trash. He let, some guys hear or know what he was about. But outside of those two, whenever there were any other opportunities for guys to kind of make plays, it really wasn't happening. I know there were a couple of catches by Ashton Dulin and Nick Westbrook-Akine, but just not enough to make me think, oh, this could be fine if Alec Pierce missed his time. I think they would be really, really in trouble. Honestly, Jimmy, I know I'm kind of taking your question and pivoting it a little bit, but physically I had no problem at all, mobility-wise, velocity-wise, accuracy-wise. And this probably speaks to how well Daniels moved and how well he looks physically. My attention immediately shifted from, oh, okay, he looks fine, to, oh boy, does he have enough help around him?
I'm gonna change this right now. Just a quick question. This is gonna be like a little pivot away from camp. Josh Downs stays healthy for 17 games. Daniel Jones stays healthy for 17 games. Give me Josh Downs' stat line right now. Just a quick guess. Not going to hold you to it forever. Okay. But where are you right now on this? And let me one more caveat. They don't add a significant receiver in free agency or via trade between now and the season. Just to be clear. So this is it. It's Pierce, it's Downs, it's Warren. Those are your top 3 pass catchers going into the year.
So I'm looking at him from last year. He had 58 catches, 566 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. Of course, that was with Alec Pierce being there, and he's still here, but Michael Pittman Jr. is no longer here. A.D. Mitchell's no longer here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that he goes for 70 catches, 850 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
Nice.
I still think he would be the third passing option because I don't want to act like, okay, Pittman's not here anymore. Suddenly, he's just going to get all those targets. He's just not the same kind of player. I think that you have to be realistic and expect that Alec's volume will go up as well. And Tyler Warren. I mean, Tyler Warren looked so good in that Patriots camp that it honestly just made me think, okay, well, he was the focal point of the passing offense in a number of games last year. Why can't he do that again? Because of the versatility. The fact that he can line up in line and they can do 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets, or kind of play around with how they use him, to me, makes him probably the most easy, or improper English, the easiest bet to have great volume, have great targets, have great production. But yeah, I think if nobody else is added, he's still in for a great season. And as we saw, Shane is not afraid to dial it up. He really did not use Daniel Jones in some gimmicky, run pass offense. Daniel scored a couple rushing touchdowns last year. I think he had 5, but that was not the focal point of him using his legs. It was more so him just getting down to the 1 or 2 and they're just pushing him in versus him running in for actual touchdowns. This to me means that, if you're going to have him drop back and pass, Josh is going to be due for a big year.
That is what I was suspecting. And I am, like I said, I've been I think a known Josh Downs fan for quite a while here. And I am dying to see a fully healthy Josh Downs season with a fully healthy quarterback season, because I don't even really got one of those either. So I'm eager to see it, though. I will say that it sounds like you despite your, I think, optimism about Downs and Warren, still waiting on Pierce, you think this team might need to add another piece. I promise we'll get to some of the other guys in the preseason, but I am curious about this receiver situation. I guess I'm curious what you think there, based on what you saw yesterday.
If you're like me, you're the kid who savored every last drop of sugary milk at the bottom of your cereal bowl while watching Saturday morning cartoons. Kachava's new flavor, Cinnamon French Toast, gives you a bit of that classic nostalgia. And I love that it's made with real cinnamon bark. It's a comfort flavor, but with benefits and without the sugary drawbacks. There's no artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners. It's non-GMO, there's no soy, there's no animal products, no gluten, and no preservatives. But Kachava does provide all the nutrition your body craves in one deliciously simple shake with just 2 scoops. So treat yourself to a childhood favorite. Go to Kachava.com and use code SPORTS for 15% off your first order. That's Kachava, Kachava.com with code SPORTS.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at. I know Keenan Allen's been the biggest name probably left. I think Brandon
Yeah, yeah,
Cooks is
yeah.
still out there as well, but I don't know if he overlaps too much with what Alec brings. Brandon is kind of like a burner like Alec. And even with Keenan, like there is some overlap and redundancy in the skill set because he's third and Keenan for a reason. He's known for being the guy who picks up yards in the slot and moves the chain. But I just think that you need some insurance and production, even if there's a little bit of redundancy, that's where you trust Shane Steichen as a play caller. Like with a guy like Keenan Allen, a guy like Brandon Cooks, whoever that is, and I'm just throwing out names that
Yeah.
come to mind. There might be some other ones who are maybe less heralded, but the point is, if there is anybody out there, I'll just say Keenan Allen because he has the most rapport with Shane Steichen, with the offense that they run. That to me at least gives you confidence in somebody that Daniel Jones can look at and say, he is a proven commodity. Because I'm not knocking Ashton Dulin or Nick Westbrook-Ikhine or even Laquan Treadwell, the 2016 first round pick, who's kind of become like this NFL journeyman who just kind of hangs on, is a great locker room guy. Those guys are fine if they're your fourth guy or who you throw in there, somebody gets banged up for a game or two. But I'm just not sure if I want to believe in that level of responsibility given the lack of production throughout all three of the guys I just named, whether it's, again, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Ashton Dulin, or Laquan Treadwell. I mean, Laquan Treadwell hasn't caught a pass in an NFL game since 2023. You look at a guy like Ashton Dulin, he's been in the league for 7 years. He's played 6 of them. He missed 1 year due to an ACL, but I think he has 40 catches in his career. That's not a whole lot. I mean, 40 catches in a season is normally what you would get from a wide receiver 3 or 4. And then with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, he had a great year a couple years ago with the Titans, where it's kind of an anomaly. He had 9 receiving touchdowns and I think over 400 yards receiving. But in his career, he hasn't had a ton of production. Like, I don't even think he's had 2,000 or I have to look it up. I don't think that he even has like 2,500 receiving yards in his career over the last few years. So again, you're looking at production. I just think that you might want to have a more proven commodity. And the last thing I'll say about it, Jim, is like, let's say they take a swing on it and it doesn't work, then who cares? Like, you have the cap space. It's not going to cost you a ton of money to bring in a veteran receiver. And if it doesn't work out, fine. But at least you can look back and say you did something, because you not saying you did anything is where I fear we will come back and just point at you and say, well, we told you all summer this was an issue. Yeah, I'm correct on that. I'm looking at Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. He's been in the league for 6 years, and he has 1,800 receiving yards in his career. So, again, not a whole lot of, bang for your buck, whereas I think a veteran receiver signing at this point probably could be.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think I've thought from the beginning that it's just like, I like Ashton Dulin, I like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine for what they are, but I feel so much better about them as your 4-5 than as your 3-4. Like, if you just bump down in the pecking order, like, that makes a lot more sense to me. And obviously you can throw Dulin out there to do kind of some of the dirty work stuff that you need, either whether that's blocking, which I think he can do pretty well, and stretching the field. Like, he's just a guy who can run some of those deep routes that clear out space for other guys. So you're not, that's not just an Alec Pierce role. Alec Pierce does that well as well, but also, if he wants to do some of those, more of those in breakers that he was so good at last year, and some of those sail route stuff that he was doing last year, like, that stuff is the stuff that I think that you need Alec Pierce to be doing, and so you need somebody else to stretch the field. I'm with you on a guy like Keenan Allen. It's a little redundant. I feel like if Josh Downs woke up one morning and saw that the Colts had signed Keenan Allen, he might want to go back to bed. I think that's what happened to like Ladd McConkey last year too. Before his, he was I'm gonna have a big season with the Chargers. I'm gonna have a heavy target guy, and then all of a sudden it's like 100 targets for Keenan Allen, and Ladd McConkey had a fine season, but not the big year that he was hoping for. So it's I'm with you. I think they do need to add someone. I don't think Keenan's a perfect fit in that way, but again, quality receiver, adding somebody like that, a veteran to the room, could help, especially if Pierce is still on the mend. But let's get over to the quarterbacks, because that is a place I wanted to go. We did find out from Shane Steichen yesterday that he is going to start Anthony Richardson for the first half of this game against the Patriots. Riley Leonard will then play the second half before starting against the Falcons in week 2, and Richardson will relieve him. So he'll be a little rotation. Richardson gets the first shot. I'm not reading too much into that really necessarily in who got to go first. But I do think this is, I don't know if I'm overselling. You tell me if I am. Is this a showcase game for Anthony Richardson? Is this the time for him to go out there against the Patriots on a Thursday night? That's kind of a big franchise, big team. If he plays really well is that a game where you can envision him boosting his stock enough that maybe a trade gets done before the start of the season? Because I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. I think it's within the range of possibilities, but call me crazy.
I think you're a little crazy because I'm a
Okay.
little crazy. But on like a scale of 1 to 10, I'll put it probably at like a 4. Like that this
Okay.
game changes the trade value or just the trade want that much for him to actually be moved. I just don't know.
Okay.
It's late in the offseason, and Anthony throughout most of camp has struggled. I would argue that he's had, like he mentioned the other day, it's not my best camp, not my worst camp. It's definitely not his best, but it's rough. It's been a lot more down than up. But the opportunity he has before him, and by the way, I do want to say this. In the joint practice, I thought that Anthony and Riley looked a little bit better than they had against their own team, and there was more consistency there. But again, when they get to some of those, other receivers, and both have had the opportunity over the last couple of years to play with the ones, it looks a little different playing with the 2s and 3s. So I do want to give them a little bit of grace there, but they did look a little more just competent, and that was a positive sign for the room. But with Anthony, I wonder just getting actual snaps, and Shane did not disclose like, okay, how many starters are going to be like missing or not playing or whatever, but just playing and knowing that you won't have to like sub out. Like when you're the second or third string guy in training camp, you get a couple of snaps here or there.
Right.
And that's about it. And it's might be hard to find a rhythm. And I do think Anthony's a rhythm player where like he gets maybe a little more comfortable, a little bit better if he just plays through some of the mistakes and some of the incompletions and things like that. Now you could argue, hey, it's hard to do that if you can't complete a pass at all. Yeah, it is kind of hard to find a rhythm. But all of that in mind, I think that this is a big opportunity for him to just kind of regain some confidence, put something on tape that's positive, and really redeem himself from last year, Jim, because I think the quarterback competition, and I'm not in Shane's head, but I think it was solidified, if it wasn't already, when he missed that blitz pickup last year in Baltimore, ended up dislocating his pinky, and basically the league I think the league perception shifted to, well, this guy just can't read a defense. He wasn't prepared, and that's been the Anthony Richardson experience. Are you more prepared this time around? Are you going to finish plays? Are you going to go out there and succeed and lead the offense down the field? Like there's things we haven't really seen consistently this year. So big opportunity for him, and certainly one that he needs to take advantage of because, as Shane mentioned, Riley will get his turn to start a game the following week. And both of them will get, I would assume, plenty of opportunity without Daniel Jones kind of siphoning off those first team reps.
Yeah, you're on the record saying that you think this is going to end up being Riley Leonard's job. And by that, I mean,
QB2.
the backup quarterback job.
I do.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I think you hinted, if not said it strongly in your stock report from a few days ago.
Yeah.
So, I guess maybe for you then the only opportunity he has is a chance to maybe win that backup quarterback job if he plays well during the preseason. But I'm with you. Like I said, I
He's
don't
going
think
to call Sam Ehlinger. Sam Ehlinger was a preseason All-Pro.
Oh yeah, Dynamo, man. Yeah,
you need a Sam Ehlinger-esque performance from me.
Did you see, by the way, the glowing reports out of Jets camp about A.D. Mitchell the last few days? I was like, boy, have I seen those before.
I have. And again, got to prove it on Sunday with A.D. Mitchell, who, by the way, great human. He was very candid in all the stuff he went through here, the mistake that he made, not crossing the goal line, all of that. We don't have to rehash it all. But I actually went back and read that story last night because I was thinking about him, and he's a great human. I root for him to succeed in life because I think that he deserves it. But yeah, things have changed quite a bit. And if you look at from like the A.D. Mitchell and the Anthony Richardson perspective, I think it's kind of similar. Like both are supremely gifted athletes, like physically so talented. They show you flashes of what they could be, but then the concentration, the execution, those are the things where you're just wondering, will it ever click?
Yeah, we talked about that, I think, at one point on this podcast. Like, is A.D. Mitchell the receiver version of Anthony Richardson? So not that Richardson has like the summer standout stuff that Mitchell has. I'm with you. Like I said, you hear about all the separation stuff that he does, and he can be like, I think it's in there. I'm not writing off A.D. Mitchell. It's just like it's the third year in a row now where we're like summer A.D. Mitchell, and then then the fall comes around and it's like ugh. So, no. Anyway, well, I'm intrigued. I'm with you. I think last preseason was like the beginning and the end of the Anthony Richardson thing. Like he blew it was like both things. Like couldn't read a defense on that one particular play, blew it, and then got hurt. So it was like the knocks that you had against Anthony Richardson all showed up on one play. So
Yeah.
maybe he fares a little better this time around and drives up the trade value. Again, I don't think there's anything that's going to motivate a team to trade for him more than an injury at this point. Like right now, I think a lot of people are pretty set with their quarterbacks and what they're going to go with. Most teams, I should say. But if an injury happens, maybe that starts to change things for Richardson and his
Right.
trade market. So, all right, now let's get into non-quarterback, non-receiver. We talked a lot about those. Who are the guys that, it's the preseason. We're not going to see you're not going to see the starters a ton. The Colts in particular can't be too, they have to be pretty careful with a lot of these veterans and the guys because the depth is not the best this year. At least it doesn't look that way on paper. So you're going to see a lot of these young guys a lot for the next 3 weeks. So who are the guys that you are most excited to watch in terms of kind of have a lot to gain, I guess, and less to lose? I think more to gain. Who is more like the most to gain now as a young player that can kind of prove themselves within the next few weeks that they deserve a bigger opportunity than fans might expect going into the season?
Well, I'll start with this guy, Bryce Betcher. You talk
Okay.
about the linebacker
Yeah.
room. C.J. Allen was the crown jewel of the draft class, the second round pick out of Georgia. He was supposed to be the green dot guy, and Chris Ballard said, hey, we believe he can be a green dot guy from day one, the night that they drafted him. However, he's had a couple of injuries throughout camp that have sidelined him.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Bryce Betcher hasn't missed a camp at all, and he continues to get more and more reps with the first team. And they've rotated a lot of linebackers. I'm not saying that he's going to come in and start every single play like Zaire Franklin did for this franchise for the last few years, but he's somebody that if it comes to week one and he's named a starter, I would not be surprised. And I think this opportunity, with CJ Allen still being out, is a chance for Bryce Betcher to say, you know what, I can come out here, I can play actual football and show you all that I'm reliable. He did have a ton of snaps in college at Oregon. He led the Big Ten in tackles last year. He was a team captain, all those things. So that to me kind of lends itself to playing sooner rather than later, especially given the injury situation. And then some other names to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah.
When it comes to, I know we talked about the receiver. I don't want to get back into that again. Ashton Doolin, Westbrook Akine, they're veterans, but like, what do they have to do to kind of prove themselves? But three other young defensive players, Jalen Tuimoloau on the edge, and on the backside, Hunter Wohler and AJ Halsey. Hunter Wohler came back to practice against the Patriots yesterday, rotated in and out with AJ Halsey. Who's going to be that other starting safety next to Cam Bynum? So I'm excited to kind of see how that looks. Now, it does sound like Cam Bynum's going to wear the green dot. It seems like the Colts have kind of moved ahead with that. I actually talked to Cam Bynum about that yesterday in New England, and he was saying, yeah, I'm excited about it. I appreciate the opportunity. I just got to, he said he joked about being in better shape. I got to get in better shape to make sure I can run around and, run to the line, tell the guys to play, run back to my deep, coverage area if that is the play call, things like that. But, yeah, those are three defensive guys, or really four: Bryce Betcher, Jalen Tuimoloau, and then the two safeties, Wohler and Halsey.
So I'm seeing Halsey, and again, I tell me I'm reading way too much into a preseason depth chart. I've done a beat before. I know I'm not going to do it, but the Colts released their depth chart, and when they have the backup quarterback situation that has Riley Leonard or big OR in bold, Anthony Richardson, but in the safety situation, it does no or. We have AJ Halsey as listed as the starting strong safety. Tell fans, reading too much into that? Is it still an open competition? Or where are you on that?
Yeah, I think you are probably reading a little bit more into it than necessary, mainly because I just asked Lou Anarumo, the Colts defensive coordinator, about this maybe last week, and he was saying, look, man, we're still going to rotate these guys to see who's the best fit back there. And it doesn't sound like they're going to hand the job to AJ Halsey, not to say that he can't earn it. I mean, he's a third-round pick. He was all SEC last year. Every single place that he played in college, 3 different colleges, he was an all-conference member with that program. He's been a ball hawk. And he actually picked off Daniel Jones during a practice last week and kind of made a splash play there. So is he someone that can maybe gain some ground? Because Hunter Wohler was that guy. I mean, he had taken pretty much all the first team reps. Then he had a hamstring injury, missed some time, and now AJ Halsey is getting more of a go at it. So I'm excited to see what he does. He's somebody who's versatile, I think, maybe offers you a little bit more versatility than Hunter Wohler, but at the same time, Hunter Wohler has, even though he was hurt last year, he has been in this system. He maybe knows it a little bit better. And does Lou value that more? Like the experience part, are you going to be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there versus the, high upside, but maybe you're not quite there from a schematic standpoint. So we'll see.
I'm going to ask you about a couple of veterans in a minute who probably won't play in the preseason. I'm going to do that in a minute. But the last thing I want to ask you about what we will see in the preseason is on the offensive side of the ball and running backs. And I'll give you guys a little background. In our run of show, they didn't come up. You have written and talked about them last time, but I am curious, like, what do you think we're going to see in terms of the DJ Giddens, Seth McGowan, like divided among the carries? Like, how much are we going to see of both of those guys? Who's going to go first, do you think? Is it going to be Seth McGowan? Again, looking at the depth chart, they have Giddens listed ahead of McGowan. I'm not reading too much into that, but I am curious what you think. Is that going to be a true competition throughout the preseason between those two dudes trying to become Jonathan Taylor's primary backup? Because I don't imagine we're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor this preseason.
Yeah, good question, Jim. We honestly haven't seen a whole lot of DJ Giddens this summer because of the hamstring injury that he's still currently dealing with. He did not practice against the Patriots.
Okay.
I would venture to say he's probably not going to play tomorrow.
Okay.
And I think that's why, even though the or isn't listed on the depth chart, right now, I would be shocked if anybody in the Colts building did not have Seth McGowan as their number 2 running back now today. That could change, but I would say that he's building a very strong case. And at this point, you're looking at Seth McGowan and Ulysses Bentley the fifth, I think is his name, for the Colts. We call him driving that Bentley.
Fourth.
I'm sorry.
Come on, don't add generation to him.
I'm sorry. Ulysses Bentley. I always want to say Ulysses S. Grant or something like that, like the president. But he is someone who I think now he's challenging DJ Giddens for like that third spot. Like, okay, if you don't make it back, if you're still kind of banged up, do they just roll with the healthy guy going into the season? And is that somebody that I think could sneak onto the roster? He's had a pretty good camp. I got to give him credit for that. He's definitely made more plays than DJ Giddens just because he's been more available than DJ. So Seth McGowan, I do think he would probably be like the bell cow tomorrow. Maybe not getting a whole, crazy load of carries, but I'm not so sure that anyone will have the same volume of carries as him just because it seems like he's a little bit more vital to what the Colts would actually want to do when it comes to their real season. And do they just want to kind of stress us him a little bit, blitz pickup, pass protection? Because that's the stuff where they got to get him on the field. I think all the other stuff, the running style, the physicality, the hands out of the backfield, that has been very good. And now it's just about, okay, can you protect Daniel? Because if you can't, we know you can't play.
Yep. All right. Look, I said veterans, but I do want to ask one more competition preseason thing. Give me the quick kicker breakdown of what we're going to see this preseason.
So I think right now, Blake Grupe has run away with this thing. He has, really put himself in a great position to be the Colts kicker, and barring him just being absolutely terrible tomorrow or something like that, or missing a bunch of kicks or missing an extra point, he's going to be the guy. I feel pretty comfortable saying that. But for Spencer Schrader, the reason why I have him on my list of like guys who have the most to gain and prove is just, can you show another team perhaps that you're good enough to get an opportunity, that you're good enough to help them win games? I mean, he's kind of bounced around a little bit. I think he had a stint with the Jets, with the Chiefs, and he had some good moments there with those franchises. But I think that it's, I want to say far and away, but there is a significant gap between the two kickers, just based off who's made kicks and who's missed. Yeah, I believe that Grupe is 30 of 34 in training camp, and Schrader is, I want to say, 23 of 34. And you just can't really be in like the 60% if you want to be an NFL kicker. And Brian Mason, the Colts special teams coordinator, has talked about that. He wants to make sure that those guys are in the 80s. So that's pretty much everything we had to cover through a jam-packed podcast that, started kind of weird and, maybe, I'm sorry, I'm pump faking on you.
I got one. Well, I just want to say, I saw this on Twitter today. I can't remember where I saw it.
Oh boy.
I just wanted to ask you.
Anything.
No. It's about what you saw yesterday, and it's a good sign for the Colts defense, I think. But somebody, I think it was a Patriots reporter, it might have been
Mike Reese.
Yeah, might have been, said that he thought Grover Stewart was like the best player on the field yesterday and I just thought, I wanted to ask what you thought of that, and then a quick what that means for the Colts defense, because it could be huge for them, obviously. Yeah,
I didn't have a chance to watch too much of him because I had to, give my attention to the quarterback and what was going on there. But he definitely blew up some plays. He definitely made his presence known. And if he could just continues to be that big kind of like club bouncer in the middle, especially with Buckner as well, looking like he's, turning back into himself, that is great for this Colts defense. It just gives you one less thing to worry about if you got those two pillars in the middle of the defensive line. So I feel good about that. I'm not too concerned about, Grover, and, he's the most jolly man, but also the most violent man on the field.
Those two guys being at the peak of their powers would be massive for this Colts defense. So I just wanted to get a quick question in about that before you wrap us up here.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it for this podcast. We'll check in with you all next week after we've had some game film to break down. But as always, appreciate you all listening to us, trusting us, and I promise I still and always will vet my sources. Until next time, my friends.